Good morning, students. In last video, we had discussed about communication technologies and about a computer. In this video, we are going to discuss about functioning of a computer. Before we start discussing the functioning of a computer, let us understand the way we function. To understand this, we will take some examples. Consider a case when your mother asks you to bring up cake and pastries from the market. You go to the market, purchase both the things and give it to your mother. In the second example, you want to talk to your one of your friends. His phone number is 12345 whatever. So you dial up the number and speak to your friend. Above example illustrates the way we human beings function. There is something common in them. In all the examples, certain things were needed to work upon. The actual work was then carried out accordingly, and finally the result was obtained. In the first example, mommy's order of purchasing cake and pastry, it's an input. Going to bazaar and purchasing, it's a process. Purchased cake and pastry, it's a output. It's a second example. You desire to make a phone call to your friend, it's a input. Making phone call, it's a process. Chat with your friend, it's a output. All the examples undergo three stages. The first stage, things to work upon, is called input stage. The second stage, the actual work being performed, is called process stage. The third stage, the result, is called output stage. Some input is needed to accomplish a task. A process is carried out on the input to obtain the output. Every task follows this input or process output cycle. In short, it's a IPO cycle. A computer is not an exception to this rule. A computer also follows the IPO cycle. It needs certain input, carries out a process and produces the output. A computer mainly has four functions. First one, accept data, it's an input. Processing data, it's a processing. Produce a result or output, it's a output. Store results, it's a storage. The basic structure of a computer comprises of a unit to perform these functions. The basic structure of a computer is input unit, CPU. In CPU, it's a processor and main memory, that's known as register. Output unit, secondary or external memory. Since the computer follows input, process, output cycle, the first stage is performed in computer by input unit. It means it takes input from the input unit. Second stage is performed by its central processing unit. It means the CPU. It takes input from the input unit and processes and stored in memory, and again through the processor it goes to the output unit, and finally if you save a file it goes to the external memory like hard disk, pen drive, CD-ROM, etc. And all this is done with the help of memory. Memory is the brain of computer which holds the data during processing. The main memory holds the input and intermediate output during the processing. Now let's discuss about these functions. First one, input function. It is responsible for providing the information in the computer and is performed by input unit. For this purpose, input unit uses a standard input devices such as keyboard, mouse, scanner, barcode reader, etc. Second one, output function. It is responsible for displaying the data input to computer or the processed data in the human readable form and is performed by output unit. For this purpose, the output unit uses a standard output devices such as monitor or screen, printer, speaker, etc. third one is processing function. This is responsible for carrying out the given instruction on given data. It is performed by CPU. CPU, the full form is Central Processing Unit. To carry out these functions, CPU uses the following components. ALU, Arithmetic and Logic Unit. It is responsible for carrying out arithmetic instruction or logical instruction. Next one, CU is a control unit. This unit is responsible for controlling the execution of instruction, one instruction at a time, and hence it supervises and controls required component to carry out the instruction. And third one, primary memory. This memory is made available to CPU to store data and instruction being processed. Memory it used to store the data. You know that every program that is going to be processed, it must be present in the primary memory. Now let's discuss about the storage function. It is responsible for storing any kind of information permanently and is performed by a storage unit. Various storage devices like hard disks, CDs, DVDs, USB drive, etc. comprise of these units. Now let's discuss about the central processing unit. Just as a human brain is the most important part of human body as it directs and controls action of body. CPU is the brain of computer. CPU, the brain, computer's brain, controls and directs the internal activity and action of the computer. A CPU does the entire thinking and controlling in processing action. All the other parts of computer work is directed by the CPU. The CPU consists of three basic sections: the ALU, Arithmetic and Logic Unit, Control Unit, and Register. That's known as also known as cache memory. These three sections of a microprocessor work together to control the operations of system. These are connected to other crucial components like input unit, output unit, and secondary memory via a special connecting wire called the system bus. Now next thing is a component of CPU. CPU is divided into three sections: control unit, that's known as CU, Arithmetic and Logic Unit, that's ALU, and register. It is also known as cache memory. It is present between the RAM and processor. Control unit takes input from the input devices and this stores in the memory. Again from the memory, control unit send it to the Arithmetic and Logic Unit. Arithmetic and Logic Unit process the data and again send to the registers. It is stored temporarily there for processing, and after processing the result is again stored in the memory, and control unit takes the result from the memory and send it to output device. And when you save the file or data, it goes to the secondary memory or the external memory. Now let's discuss about the Arithmetic and Logic units. This unit performs the following function. The first one, arithmetic operations which include addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. All logic operations which involve comparison such as less than, greater than, or equal to, less than or greater than, or less than equal to, greater than equal to, the result of these operations are stored in register or in memory or sent to output devices. The next thing is registers. All the data is temporarily stored in registers. During the execution of programs, registers offer very fast memory but very limited in size. You know that every program that is going to process must be stored in RAM or primary memory. But it is one another memory is present between the CPU and RAM. That's known as cache memory or register. It is just like waiting area. The next thing which is going to be processed is stored in register from the RAM, and when the processing of the previous program is done, then the next program which is stored in register, it goes to for processing, or again the next program from the RAM comes to the register. And third one, control unit. The control unit of the CPU directs the entire computer system to carry out or execute a stored program instructions. You can compare the control unit to a police officer directing traffic at busy intersections. But instead of directing cars, the control unit directs data flow between computer processor, memory, and input-output devices. The CPU performs 4 steps in the executing an instruction. First, the control unit gets the instruction from memory. Second, the control unit decides what the instruction means and directs the necessary data to be moved from memory to the arithmetic logic unit. The arithmetic logic unit performs the actual operation on the data. The result of the operation is stored in memory or a register. The first 2 steps, as given above given, make up what is called the instruction time. The last 2 instructions make up what is called the execution time. The combination of these 2 is called machine cycle. So these are how the computer function, how the processing done in CPU. Now let's discuss about the characteristics of a computer. As you have seen that computers are being effectively used for a variety of tasks in nearly every field. Can you think of the qualities which made computers so popular? Computers certainly have some strength which make them immensely useful and of course popular. So strength of computer. The first one is speed. Computers are much faster as compared to human beings. A computer can perform a task in a minute that may take days if performed manually. A modern computer can execute millions of instructions in 1 second. Second is high storage capacity. Computers can store a large amount of information in very small space. A CD-ROM of 4.7-inch diameter can store all the 33 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica. Will still have room to store more information. Today's flash memory, such as pen drive, can be 3 to 5 centimeter long and can still store up to 16 GB to 32 GB of data. Third one, accuracy. Computer can perform all the calculation and comparison accurately, provided the hardware does not malfunction. Fourth one, reliability. Computers are immune to tiredness and boredom or fatigue. Thus, they are more reliable than human beings. Last one, the versatility. Computer can perform repetitive jobs efficiently. They can solve labor problems or do jobs in a hostile environment. They even can work in the area where human brain can error. For instance, observing motion of very fast moving article. Also, they can work with a different type of data information like graphics, video, visual, characters, etc. So these are the some strength of computers. In spite of having all the above given characteristics, computers do possess some limitations. Also, that are strength of human being. So weakness of computers. The first one is lack of decision making power. Computers cannot decide on their own. They do not possess the power which are great assets of human being. Second one, IQ 0. Computer are dumb machine with 0 IQ. They need to be told each and every step, however minute it may be. And third one, no heuristics. Heuristics means learning from the past experience. If a computer commits an error once and similar situation event occurs again, computer will commit the same error again. It cannot learn from the past experience, but the human being learns from the past experience very well. So that's all for today. Thank you.